Have you ever noticed the moment you need motivation the most, it is suddenly no longer there? That big task or that thing you've been avoiding, somehow motivation just vanishes right when it matters the most. That's not random, and it doesn't mean you're necessarily doing something wrong. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, I'm Ashley, a mental health expert on a mission to help Christians heal their anxiety using Christ centered neuroscience, providing solutions other than the just pray more advice. In today's video, we are talking about motivation and why it can't be your go to strategy for healing your anxiety. Too often, I see people being incredibly hard on themselves because motivation isn't there for them. And that's because they've been taught that action is supposed to begin with a feeling. As a result, we treat motivation like it's stable, but it's not. How many times have you thought, if I don't feel motivated, I must not be ready? That's not necessarily true. Contrary to popular belief, motivation is not the force sustaining most of your life, and it doesn't actually indicate readiness. If motivation were required for progress, let me tell you, a lot would not happen. So, there are some key things that we have to understand and shift our thinking about motivation in order to properly navigate this. Side note, stick around to the end. I have a free special treat for you that you can use whenever your motivation is running low. So now, let's get into why this happens with motivation. Here's the first fact. You do not have an unlimited stream of motivation. It always fluctuates. It literally rises and falls with your body, your mind, your energy, your emotions, your stress levels, and your capacity at any given moment. That's a lot. Listen, it's not your fault. Motivation is unreliable. Even if it is present or strong in the beginning, it is short lived. Motivation isn't a switch you can just turn on whenever you want. It comes and it goes. And sometimes it's just not there, even when you really want it to be. Secondly, the moments when we need or desire motivation the most are usually when there is higher stakes involved or a task feels hard, uncertain, or uncomfortable. The more important something is, the more it bothers us that we don't have motivation. Lack of motivation during those moments are going to be most alarming for you, gaining more of your attention at that time than any other instances where motivation is not there. Motivation, unfortunately, is heavily influenced by factors such as fear, uncertainty, expectations, and perceived difficulty. So, lack of motivation can simply be framed as resistance to doing something that could possibly come out not the way that you want it to. A lot of times, we're trying to avoid the imperfections that could come from taking action in those moments. You're never going to get to motivation in that way. The more pressure you put on yourself to feel motivated, the less likely it is to show up. Your brain interacts with the pressure and it says, nope, we're not doing that. And just like that, you freeze. Now nothing is happening. So, what usually happens instead of action is overthinking, hesitation, endless planning. We convince ourselves that we're preparing, even when we're just avoiding the discomfort. Your actions get replaced by thoughts that take you nowhere. The more we wait for motivation to magically appear, the longer we stay stuck. It's honestly an illusion. Waiting gives short term relief, but it guarantees long term frustration. Here's the hard truth that no one wants to hear. Motivation comes after you take action, not before. So, in other words, in order to get unstuck, you literally just need to get started, even if it is one little step. Now, I'm going to take you back to math class for a little bit. Let's go back to basic physics for a second. Finish the sentence. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. Things don't just start moving by standing still. Just like movement creates momentum, action generates motivation. So you have to get the ball rolling if you want it to keep rolling. Motivation grows with results, progress, and more importantly, with faithfulness, especially because you are going to receive your greatest rewards on the back end of action, not on the front end. The Bible highlights this through a key life principle that is involved in everything we do: sowing and reaping. A simple way to explain it: one action leads to other actions. Galatians 6:7 says, "Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." If we go forward to verse 9, it says, "We will reap if we do not give up." None of us get to bypass this truth. If you look at the definition of sow, it literally means plant seeds, plural, seeds, by scattering them in or on the ground. To reap means receiving a positive or negative consequence as a result of your own actions. Did you know that a single action of yours has a ripple effect on what happens next? Do you really know that? Do you really accept that? The more repetitive you do an action, the more results you are going to get from it. So if we know this principle, we have to start removing the expectation of I'll wait until I feel ready. If you keep waiting to feel ready or motivated, you'll look up one day and you'll realize your future looks like your present with none or very little produced. The longer the delay, the longer your life stays exactly where it is. God did not call us to depend on motivation. He called us to faith, even if it's as small as a mustard seed. And where do we get faith? By hearing the word of God and putting it into action. And that kind of faith is what keeps us in sync with Him. There's this quote that I have written down on a post-it actually in my office, and it says, "Back up your trust and belief with action, obedience, and radical faith." I put it there to remind me that I have to move, even when I don't feel like it, even when I don't know what's next, even when I'm not sure what's going to come of it, but I still need to take action and move forward. So how do you do this? How do you become the person that is no longer waiting on motivation? I'm going to give you a regulation strategy to use instead. Remember, when motivation disappears, the nervous system is usually perceiving pressure, overwhelm, uncertainty, discomfort, fear, and emotional exhaustion. Okay? So we need to lower the threshold for starting whatever it is that you want to do with the goal of reducing enough resistance for action to happen despite this. I'm going to give you a brief script to help you to do this when motivation is running low. Give yourself that moment to re-regulate. Repeat after me. Motivation isn't here with me today, but that's okay. Nothing is wrong, and motivation is not necessary for me to move forward. If I want motivation to come, then I need to do something first. Because if I sow nothing today, I can expect nothing to grow. Say that to yourself. Then I want you to find a starting point and do the very first step. Now, side note, keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate this. If it is too complicated, this strategy will not work. Maybe it's just opening a document, making a call, putting your shoes on, or making one decision. Whether you feel motivated or not, the requirement stays the same. Inactivity produces more inactivity. Action produces results. Results that then can lead to motivation. You can't heal your anxiety if you're going about it in a passive or avoidant way. You overcome it by doing actions that actually produce results. What are those actions? An easy place to find them is right here on this channel. But I'll tell you that the best place to find them, is in this book. It's in the Bible. The solutions to healing anxiety, they're in here, but not in the way that you've been traditionally taught. If you keep waiting to feel ready or motivated to work on your anxiety, I'm telling you, you will keep delaying the healing. I say this with love. There's never a perfect time to start healing your anxiety. The part of you that's tired of staying stuck in this is worth listening to. I know how heavy it can feel trying to carry this on your own without support or guidance along the way. How frustrating it can be to do all of the right Christian things, praying, reading the Bible, singing the songs, going to church, and still being constantly anxious. You don't have to wait for things to get worse before you can reach out for help. Support is something you're allowed to step into right now, as you are. I recently heard a sermon say God is standing at the end of the road, like the prodigal son's father, and he's waiting for you to come down that road. He's waiting to embrace and hug you and say, "Welcome home." Currently, I'm focusing on working with a small group of people to heal their anxiety using biblical principles. It's specifically designed for people who desire long lasting healing. We're going beyond the surface and to the root of it so that you can begin meaningful action in your healing journey. If this feels aligned with your goal, you can book a free call with me below. The link is in the description, and I would love to connect with you, hear what you're going through, and see if we can work together towards overcoming your anxiety over the next few months. This doesn't have to be the rest of your life. As I wrap up, I want you all to really take away from this video that you don't need motivation. You just need a step in the right direction. And speaking of one step, I have included this video for you about what to do when you're overwhelmed. It has a lot of great information about what actually makes us more overwhelmed and what actually helps in those spirals. So check it out. Now, it's your turn to take what we talked about today and put it into action. You're ready. You can absolutely do this. Until then, I'll see you in the next video.